So, welcome to Tara Institute. Is the sound okay? You can hear? And this first Monday night in July, on this very wintry night in the Gompa, where I was going to say warm, but it's not very warm yet, but where we are safe. And I wish to pay my respects to the original custodians of the land on which we meet, the Bunurong people of the Kulin Nation. Tonight's session will run for about an hour, and there'll be time for questions at the end. And for those of you who've been coming a long time, it's lovely to see you. The cup of tea hasn't really started again since COVID, and I think we're still trying to keep people safe. So it might happen down the track. And of course, I know sometimes people meet up with their buddies and they like to stay and have a cup of tea afterwards, and of course you're welcome to do that. So my name is Alice, and I'm very happy to be here with you, spending some time sitting together and thinking about how we might make our lives more peaceful and more meaningful. And not just for our own well-being, but for the well-being of our families and our friends, the strangers who cross our paths, our neighbours, even if they're difficult, our communities, the communities around the world, and for the well-being of all the myriad creatures and environments that call our planet home. We are inextricably interconnected, and everything we do has an effect. So I'd like to ask, is there anyone here for the first time tonight? Oh, wonderful. A very, very warm welcome to you. I think it's very brave to take that first step into a new Dharma centre where everything is new and maybe it looks like people know what they're doing. And I can assure you there are no experts here, and certainly not on this cushion. So I invite you to relax as much as you can and to allow yourselves to be at ease. And please make sure that you're comfortable. If a chair would suit your body better, then please sit on a chair. Or if your knees hurt in the middle of the session, please feel free to go sit on a chair. And if another cushion would help, then please feel free to grab one. So it's 2.5 years since I last did a Monday night, and I'm feeling pretty rusty, so I thought it might be helpful to kind of get back to basics and to think about how we can gently encourage meditation to be an integral part of our days. And the thing is that we're all different. We have different lives and different minds, and so it makes sense to figure out what is going to work best for our own particular set of circumstances, because we are all so different. What works for one person is not necessarily going to work for another. And actually this is one of the very beautiful aspects of meditation practice, that there are so many different ways to do it. There are so many different meditations and approaches. And having said that, I do think it's helpful, and I'd even say necessary for me. Certainly it was necessary to start at the right place and to create a strong foundation to know what to do, and of course it's quite legitimate to try out different things and different centres and different teachers and different approaches, but when you find somewhere where you feel like it's a good fit, then it's good to kind of stick with that for a while, check it out and see if it's right for you, and the same with the practices. So we try to approach a meditation practice in a way that's most supportive and conducive for our well-being. And it helps to learn at a place where there are qualified teachers. I'm not a qualified teacher, but my teachers are. So Geshe Doga and Geshe Losang, who teach in this centre, have trained for more than 20 years in the very rigorous Tibetan monastic tradition, and they've achieved the highest qualification of Larampa Geshe, which is the highest you can go in that training. Something like a Doctor of Divinity and Buddhist philosophy. They have a depth of knowledge that is really rare in this world, and they have inner realizations of what they teach. Actually, Geshe Doga left today, to go to receive teachings from His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So he's gone with a group of about 15 people from Tara Institute, and I know they'll have a marvellous time. So the teachings and the advice on meditation and the advice on life that they have given Geshe Doga over the last more than, 36 years I looked up today at Tara Institute, and Geshe Losang more recently, have been handed down in an unbroken lineage from the Buddha Shakyamuni, the historical Buddha, for over 2,500 years, and they've come down, handed down teacher-student who became teacher-student to us. And I just think to have such a strong and vibrant lineage is amazing. So meditation practice sits within a much larger context in Buddhist teachings. The teachings themselves are a way of life. So they help us to understand ourselves, they help us to understand our relationships and the world and how we are in the world. They help us to see more clearly the ways we view ourselves. They help us to see our preconceived ideas about life, and most of us have plenty of them. And very importantly, the biases that we carry. So it's about getting to know ourselves through a range of techniques that shows what our crazy minds are doing. And the first technique that is usually taught is mindfulness of breathing, and I'm sure many of you are very familiar with this technique. I'm wondering, is there anyone for whom this is new experience? Oh, wonderful. I will guide the meditation and I'll leave gaps so that we can experience our breathing quietly. And I just wanted to say that each time we do this meditation, it's a great act of kindness to ourselves. And this is the kind of inner atmosphere that we try to bring to contemplative practice, a kind attitude. The Buddha said, "I visited all corners of the cosmos with my mind, and I did not find any dearer than myself. Self is likewise to every other dear. One who loves oneself will never harm another." So that is a wonderful thought, to be able to never, or to at least have the intention never to harm another. And this is where we need to begin, exactly where we are. And it's not easy because we have had a lot of conditioning to criticize and be hard on ourselves. And then it just becomes another way to fix ourselves. You know, if I meditate, then I'll be good enough. If I meditate, then I'll be acceptable, smart enough. I'll be a better mother. I remember thinking that one. A better friend. I'll be able to work harder, whatever. And really this is such an aggressive attitude towards ourselves. Meditation, rather than being a self-improvement program, you know, we do it this way, is a process, a path of understanding and letting go of the thought habits that cause us pain. So can we put down that rucksack of our burdens for a few minutes to pacify and ease the mind? It's that's an analogy sometimes given to think about what it's like going on a trek. That's, where you're trekking up a lot of hills with your pack, and then when you get to the top, finally putting the pack down and enjoying that sort of feeling of ease. And this one resonates very well with me because my husband Dave, who's just over there, he and I did the Three Capes walk in Tassie and didn't prepare well enough. And so after the first afternoon, where we climbed up to the first lodge, we found the lodge person and asked him if we could possibly go home the next day. And he said, you'll meet nothing more difficult than you've done today. So we did go on, but I remember at the end, or at the top of each hill that we had to climb, the hundreds of steps or that kind of pathway, and we had to carry our packs, which was something we weren't used to. Putting them down, just, and then no thoughts, just complete relaxation. So let's maybe try it. We'll do a guided meditation to settle our bodies and minds. And an important thing is to put aside as best we can for this short time any thoughts or worries about what happened today or during the week, what might happen tomorrow, because it's precisely these thoughts that keep us from being relaxed and abiding peacefully. And thoughts will pop up because that's what minds do. And when they do, we simply notice them, but in a friendly way, without judging, and simply bring the mind back to the object of concentration, which is our body and the breath in the body. And it might go something like this, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in. Oh, I'm a bit cold. I wish I brought a jumper. I wish I brought that cashmere jumper I saw in Chatty today, but I mustn't spend any money. And you catch it and you think, oh, thinking of shopping. Back to the breath. Breathing in, breathing out. And this is the practice, and it's a marvellous thing. This is actually the thing of noticing when our mind's drifted away. That's the whole point. So I invite you to find the most comfortable position for you. Is anyone really cold? Because I do have a shawl. Okay? Okay. So sitting with a straight spine, which allows energy to move through the body freely, with even shoulders, hands. In this tradition, we put our hands in our lap, right on the left with the thumbs touching. And if that's not comfortable, you do, however, is comfortable for you. Maybe hands on your thighs, whatever. So we have a strong back. We're very aware of the back being strong and upright as support, and a soft front, kind of open attitude. Our eyes can be closed or soft, and a soft, unfocused gaze to the floor in front, so whichever feels most conducive to the meditation. And we take these first moments to bring ourselves into our bodies, into this moment. And we might ask ourselves the question, what does it feel like to be me right now, right here? How am I feeling? And what do I hope will happen here from the deepest part of myself? What do I hope will happen? And then we cultivate a meaningful motivation for the practice. It might be to heal our bodies and minds. It might be to bring our stress levels down, to cultivate more kindness, to lessen our tendency to criticize, to be more courageous, which are all things really associated with this life. And it might be more vast, to become enlightened, to become a Buddha or an awakened being, however you think about it, for the sake of all sentient beings. To be in a position where we can really be of benefit, where we can really help. So what is it for you? And we begin the preparation for the main practice, and that's first relaxing the body. Taking care of the body is very important for cultivating the mind. And the natural state of our bodies is imbued with three qualities. The first of these is relaxation, letting your awareness be mindfully present throughout the body. And Geshe Doga calls this bringing the mind home, because so often our mind is elsewhere. So in this very moment we bring the mind home. And we bring our awareness, for example, to the shoulders. If you find a tightness or constriction there, breathe into it, and as you breathe out, soften and relax the muscles. Surrender your shoulders to gravity. And relax your arms. Let them be soft. Relax your wrists and each finger one by one. And bring your attention to your back and the back of your neck, and see if there is any holding onto tension there. And we can breathe warmth there and release tension gently on the out-breath. You might notice that where you direct your awareness, your attention, you can actually feel that part of the body. And bring your awareness to the face, the muscles of the jaw. Relax these. Bring your awareness to your temples and your forehead. Let your whole face become soft and relaxed. Let your eyes feel soft in their sockets. Let your whole body be at ease, in a posture of comfort and relaxation. And we try to maintain this throughout the practice, checking in now and again with a mental factor of introspection. And introspection is a part of the mind that watches, that notices when tension has crept in again. So we notice it and release the tension gently and return to the breath. And second, we settle the body in stillness. Apart from the movement of the breath, invite your body to be as still as possible, firm and stable like a mountain. And of course, if you need to change your posture, that's fine. We do so mindfully. And third, we cultivate an attitude of alertness, brightness and focus, as if we're about to do the most interesting and important thing in our lives, which in a way we are. And to complete this preparation, we take 3 slow, deep, gentle breaths, breathing through the nostrils. As you inhale, feel the sensations of the breath. First, fill the abdomen from the bottom up. As you continue to inhale, you feel the diaphragm expand. And finally, toward the end of the in-breath, we experience the chest expanding. So we're breathing from the bottom up, breathing almost to full capacity, and then release the breath effortlessly. So let's do this 3 times. And now we settle the breath in its natural rhythm. For this phase, once again, let your awareness pervade the whole field of physical sensations throughout the body, taking note of these sensations connected with the breathing, wherever they arise, in the abdomen, the chest, the opening of the nostrils, wherever you feel the sensations of breathing. And we observe very closely the entire course of the in-breath, the pause at the end of the in-breath, and then attend to the entire course of the out-breath, noting the pause at the end of the out-breath. Let your attention be continuously engaged with the tactile sensation of breathing, feeling the breath in the body. Breathing in, knowing that I'm breathing in. Breathing out, knowing that I'm breathing out. And something to watch whilst very closely observing the breath. Don't try to control it. Let the breath breathe as if you were deep asleep, with no expectations, no desire. With each out-breath, relax more deeply. Relax all the way through the out-breath until the breath flows in of its own accord, effortlessly. the body knows how to breathe, and the body, by way of breathing, balances out the disturbances of the day. So with the body and mind relaxed, and the mind bright and awake, we observe the felt sensations of each in and out breath, just for the next few minutes. Okay, you can relax your concentration and bring your mind back to the room. If you need to stretch or stand or rub your feet, please do what you need to do to be comfortable again. If you want to sit on a chair, please do. So, the last 2.5 years have been pretty bumpy for most people, and some people's lives have been completely turned upside down in the most awful ways, and it seems to me that we're still kind of recovering from that, and also we're not out of the woods yet. So it's been a time when a steady practice for calming the mind would have been supportive in a very healthy way. And yet for me, right in the middle of the lockdowns, my practice kind of fell apart, and Netflix often looked like a more comfortable option. Not just Netflix, Stan, Prime. And actually, if I'm honest, my formal on-the-cushion meditation practice has always been pretty up and down. So I have over the last many years done quite a bit of practice on the run, so walking meditation and things like that. But about 2 years ago, I met a new friend during an online meditation course, which is about secular ethics, run from London. And in the I met this wonderful friend who lives in Cyprus. And in the early days of our friendship, I told her, she was a very kind of empathetic person and smart, I told her that I was struggling with maintaining my daily practice. And she listened very kindly, and a few days later responded by email. And among the very kind things she said, she also said, if you do the practice consistently, imagine what you could achieve and what impact it would have on you, your family and your grandchildren. And what she said, or the way that she said it, hit me straight in the heart. And the next day I sat down on my cushion and did my practice very joyfully. And it's continued with various degrees of success. Dave's here, so I can't tell fibs. But it's continued until this day for 2 years. And this brings us to the importance of knowing why we're doing something, being clear about what our intentions are. I think we all want to have more peace and calm and joy in our lives. And so much of our environment produces the exact opposite. You know, mobile phones, emails, advertising, noise. It's a noisy world. And building noises, you know, in our street it's constant hammering, really bad radio and swearing 6 days a week. At the weekend it was actually on 3 sides. So no wonder the people around us seem to be a bit agitated or are easily agitated, because we're chronically overstimulated and noise is a constant factor. And intellectually and scientifically we know that meditation done well is beneficial. There's plenty of evidence to show that it's helpful for working with stress, with anxiety. It supports our immune systems. On a very ordinary day-to-day level, we know it can help. And from a broader perspective, to only consider my own well-being is somewhat limited, because we don't exist in a vacuum. We're connected to our families, our communities, our environment, and more we're connected to other societies around the planet. It's reasonable, of course it's reasonable to wish for better health and happiness for ourselves. And an important part of the reason is that the happier and more peaceful we become, the more harmonious our relationships are going to be. You know, whether it's with our friends, our family, with people we don't know, or with the people who press our buttons. So one of the things that we learn in relationship and friendship is kindness, where we feel and experience a sense of care and warmth towards others, and they show care towards us. Kindness is such an important support for contemplative practice. So watering the seeds of our kindness is an important motivation, bringing that attitude, that quality to our practice. Kindness to ourselves and kindness to others. And social support is very important, feeling that others care about us, doing things that connect us with other people. I mean, I think this is a fantastic example. So tuning in with people on the outside, and on the inside tuning into our own warm-heartedness, finding friendliness and concern for others. Social experiences are calming and soothing. Apparently, in evolution psychology, this is true, that whether the loving kindness is flowing into us from other people, or whether it's flowing from us out to other people, it has a very soothing effect on the brain. This might explain why volunteers often tell about their experience of often gaining more than they give. That's often the feeling. And not pushing. In his last teaching, Lama Yeshe, who was the founder of this organisation and the founder of the centre, said something that I carry in my mind to remind myself. He said, treat yourself, your mind, sympathetically with loving kindness. If you're gentle with yourself, you'll become gentle with others, so don't push. Pushing doesn't work for me. That's why I tell others not to force themselves. We are dealing with the mind, not rocks and concrete. It's something organic. And another quality that can keep a meditation practice going forward is open-minded interest. So rather than wanting to fix or change or control our experience, we have the very open attitude of wanting simply to understand, an attitude of exploration and investigation and inquiry. And, you know, in every one of the world's major traditions, questioning the experience of being alive is in them all. So asking, you know, why can't I relax? What gets in the way? Why do we get stressed out? How can we snap at people? How can we snap at some people and not at others? You know, being curious about getting to see our thought habits. And taking a systematic approach is supportive. So finding a community where there are qualified teachers and like-minded people, and you check it out well and see if it's a good fit for you, where you feel safe and comfortable and welcome. This is important. So one of our basic core needs as human beings is to know that we're safe, where we feel okay. And we listen and we learn some practices that suit our minds and ask questions and work out what feels doable. It helps, and I'm sure you've heard this many times, but it helps when we're building a contemplative practice to find a place where we live, where we can put a cushion or a comfortable chair and make it inviting with a blanket. Maybe some flowers, a picture of the Buddha, or a picture of a wisdom being from your own faith tradition, or a picture of somewhere beautiful in nature. And it can be perfectly simple, or it can be an exquisite home altar with statues, water offering bowls, light and incense and other offerings, whatever suits you. So this can be a fantastic way of being creative too. The main thing is that we feel like sitting there, of course, and to sit at the same time every day is recommended, though I know it's difficult. And a clock is helpful. You decide how long you're going to practice and stick to it. So 5 minutes, 10 minutes, half an hour. And even, you know, if at the end of the time you've decided you're having the most brilliant thought you've ever had, you still finish that meditation and dedicate. And Geshe Doga once recommended that we begin with 1 minute, so 1 minute of breathing meditation, and increase by a minute a day until we get to where we feel comfortable. Then we need to decide what we're going to do, because there is such a variety of practices. And I think doing breathing meditation every day is perfect, because it helps to regulate our emotions, it improves concentration, it helps us to get to know our thought patterns, because they'll arise without being invited. And thinking every day about our connectedness, our common humanity. My teachers recommended in the morning when we wake up, we set our motivation for the day. And this is a simple and really lovely way to begin the day, and if that's all we do, it's very beneficial. So one that Geshe Doga recommended a long time ago, which covers all the bases, is, I will not harm any living being in the slightest manner, and I will do my utmost to benefit other living beings in the best possible way. And one that His Holiness recommends is, every day think as you wake up, today I'm fortunate to have woken up. I'm alive, I have a precious human life, I'm not going to waste it. I'm going to use all my energies to develop myself, to expand my heart out to others, to achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all beings. I'm going to have kind thoughts towards others. I'm not going to get angry or think badly about others. I'm going to benefit others as much as I can. And we can be creative. Something we might begin to notice as we continue to do the meditation on breathing is that the same thoughts come up a lot. I sometimes notice that judgmental thoughts arise about certain people, particularly if there's been a recent difference of opinion. And we might for that day make an intention just to notice that, and if judgment arises, at least not to voice it, and best to understand it and transform it. Joseph Goldstein, who's an American teacher, a meditation teacher, intentionally didn't speak about another person for 3 months, and didn't speak well of or badly of, just didn't speak about another person. And he reported that he became less judgmental, not giving voice to the judgments in his mind, and as he judged others less, he judged himself less. Much of his speech was eliminated, and the subsequent silence led to much more peace of mind. And if we investigate, it is astonishing to see how much time we spend talking about others. And I mention this not to tut-tut, but to be open to the possibility that when we begin to work with problematic mind states and with unkind speech and like gossip or criticism, even though it's quite hard work, others certainly benefit and our own minds become much more peaceful. We probably become nicer to be around too, I would guess. So meditation isn't only on the cushion, it's also being present to what's happening in any moment. But the cushion meditation is important, however, to kind of get the ball rolling for setting that intention. And the thing is that what I've experienced is that even if my meditation practice has been very brief in the morning, the day goes better having done it. And if it's a tough day, it's not quite as tough. And don't take my word for it, because in the spirit of inquiry we check it out and it might take a little time to see. So with yet another helpful quality, which is perseverance or enthusiastic effort is what it's called in the Six Perfections, we might make a pact with ourselves to try it even for a week. So we might wake up, and before the mind starts bedurking about coffee and what to wear and anticipating problems, we sit peacefully for a few minutes, set our motivation for the day, and maybe do breathing practice for 5 minutes. And I know it's really cold in the morning, so do it when you're in bed, do it before you get up, under the doona where you're warm. Just sit intentionally with a straight back, do the motivation and breathe, and feel very happy that we're in such a comfortable situation. So I don't know, what do you think? I know some of you will already have a meaningful practice in place, I'm sure much better than mine, so thank you for your patience in listening to this. But I thought we might do a very short contemplation before we finish, a sort of contemplation and dedication, and then if you have questions we can do that. So I invite you to find a comfortable position again. And close your eyes if you want to, if you're comfortable to do that. And come into your body. And feel your breathing. Just take 3 deep breaths. And for a few moments, focus on the coming and going of the breath. Now think again about what you hope to gain from meditation. Has anything changed in how you think about it, about how you hope it might contribute to your well-being? From the core of your being, what is it that you wish for? And with this as a support, how would you like to be in the world? In your family, in your friendship groups, the workplace? What are the qualities that you would like to nurture? Kindness, patience, joy. All these are innate qualities in the mind, and they can be grown. And can you see how that might affect the people around you in your life? What it might be possible to change. And what is one mental habit you would like to lessen? It might be worrying. Or being anxious. Or being a bit trigger happy. What is it for you? And maybe we can make a clear intention to begin the day tomorrow with a positive intention to help where we can and to be kinder to ourselves and others. And finally, we might dedicate the positive energy of just coming here tonight, making the effort, meditating together. We can dedicate that energy to our own infinite potential and to the potential and well-being of every living being and the healing of our planet. So you can relax your concentration again. And if you have any questions, you can ask about anything. Maybe for those of you who are new here, about anything that you see in the room, or about meditation practice, or anything else. And if I can't, if there's a question I'm not sure about, then I'll do some study and report back next week. Or if there's something that you'd like covered next week, a particular topic or aspect of the teachings, you can let me know and I can incorporate that. So, does anyone have a question? Okay, that's a fantastic question. So what I'm hearing you say is you make the intention in the morning and then inevitably you blow it during the day and that can lead into self-criticism and a negative spiral. So how to work with that? That's a wonderful question. So of course we're going to make mistakes because we're human beings, but even setting the intention in the morning is like, Geshe Doga says, it's like kind of winding an alarm clock, that you will naturally be more aware of what you're doing during the day if you set your intention very clearly. And then if that anger or irritation arises, the traditional advice is to go like a piece of wood. So ideally you catch it before it's escalated too much, because if it escalates and full anger is present, there's not a lot that you can do about it at the time. So if you can catch it early, go like a piece of wood. You can say, I'm not ready to talk about this at the moment, perhaps we could meet later and discuss it. So practical communication skills, which also need to be practiced. But if you blow it completely and you completely shout, destroy somebody, which I'm sure you wouldn't do, but if you lose it and shout and you have a fight and you feel dreadful about it afterwards, then another important part of the practice, which I was going to talk about next week, is at the end of the day, given that you've been trying to be mindful during the day, you've been watching what your mind is doing, you've been watching your speech, maybe you've blown it. So at the end of the day, there's a practice called, the official practice is the Four Opponent Powers, and basically what it means is you recognise that you've acted unskillfully and you might have hurt somebody. And from your heart, you regret having done it. Really sincerely, you regret it. And then you make the determination not to do it again. And if you think, you can't do it even for a whole day, not to do it whilst you're asleep, and then maybe the next morning not to do it for an hour. And then by keeping things manageable and short and gentle and kind, you're more likely to be successful, And then in the Buddhist tradition, then there are purification practices that you can do. So an example would be there are mantra practices where you can say purification mantras, and a very simple one is visualizing all of the wisdom of the Buddhas and the wisdom beings in the universe as an orb of light above your head, and white light streaming down through you, completely purifying you of that negativity. And you have to kind of feel confident that it's had an effect. So That was a bit of a long answer, but that's the sort of gist of it. And you can do it during the day too, you know, after you've made a mistake. At the time think, I really regret that. But you can't keep doing that over and over and over and over again without changing the behaviour. It's like, you know, apologising to people all the time but doing the same thing. So, yeah, I hope that helps. There's actually, it reminds me, there's another practice. It's called the inner job description, and it was in the training that we ran recently at TI, where you have a book and there's a list of different types of speech, and you have a positive and a negative section, and you tick the positive if you've praised somebody in a skillful way. Write briefly what you've done, and then in the negative section you tick the negative box and write down, you know, nagged Dave all morning, you know, something like that. And then at the end, because if you're going to purify, you've got to know what it is you've been doing that's causing problems. So, and we forget, you know, we kind of blunder through the day a bit, and so if you write it down, it's a wonderful practice. If you write it down, then at night you sort of kind of, oh yeah, I nagged Dave this morning. So then doing the four opponent powers. Yeah. It's a bit hardcore, isn't it? Yeah. So, anything else? Is there any topic that would particularly be helpful for anybody?
You mentioned walking meditation. That sounds interesting.
Walking meditation, you'd like to do next week or describe?
Yeah, if you could talk about that at some point.
Oh, okay, so if you're going to go for a walk tomorrow morning, the aim is not to put music on, but to walk wherever you are, in the streets or in a park, and just be fully present to walking. So feeling like we do before breathing meditation, you know, you tune into your body and see how it's feeling. So you're aware of your feet touching the ground. In the classical walking meditation, walk very, very slowly. So with the hands like this, totally with an interior mind, and you take notice of every part of the foot touching the ground and lifting, and then the next foot and lifting and walking backwards and forwards. But I think it's reasonable to walk at a normal pace, but be aware of the wind, of sound, of anything that you're experiencing in that walk, which means that you're fully present. You know, sometimes we go for a walk and sometimes I'll walk around the park with my little dog, and at the end of it I won't even know that I've been walking because of thinking. So just being fully aware of walking, of the action of walking, your feet on the ground, the wind on your face, sounds that you hear, and do it for a certain amount of time. Yeah. You can also Google walking meditation, and there's lots of advice. Yeah. Is that okay? Yeah. Yeah.
It's always good to fill your own heart with some appreciation of yourself, especially when there's things like maybe you haven't done something right in the day, you know, or maybe you want to do something and find it difficult, and you show yourself some patience and kindness and forgiveness.
Yes.
I think there's always a space for that.
Okay. Oh well, self-compassion is so needed, as you say, and there are some wonderful practices and wonderful meditations. I don't know if you've come across Kristin Neff, who's a fantastic psychologist who has focused on self-compassion for the last 20 years. So she's come up with very skillful meditations and practices, and some of them are somatic, of you actually put your hand on your heart. It's a self-regulation practice, and there are other practices like that. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so maybe enough. And thank you so much for coming. And lovely to see you all. And I hope to see you next week. Have a lovely week. Be kind.